Welcome to the Leverton on Everything podcast, where I review everything: movies, books, podcasts, people, plays, poetry, whatever I want, basically. That's the first rule. Second rule is that every review that I do on this show is under 10 minutes, and the time starts when I start talking about the thing, which is now. Last night I watched a movie called Rush, starring Chris Helmsworth and some other guy. And sorry, I need to move my butt. And it is about F1 and specifically the rivalry between James Hunt and Niki Lauda. And I'm going to shock you about how many times I'm going to say Niki Lauda in this episode. Uh, Yeah, I did not like it at all because the movie I I find myself becoming more and more irritated about true stories that leave out very important things like the Battle of the Sexes, which is another episode, and this one leaves out the fact that James Hunt and Niki Lauda may have been rivals for a brief period of time, but they were also friends. And the movie makes it look like, hey, James Hunt just discovers this Niki Lauda guy and he's like really irritated with him, when in fact, at that point in real life, they were roommates. So why can't you tell that story where they are roommates? Because it kind of makes Niki Lauda look like, I don't know, an antisocial person who has no friends and he's only focused on racing and he doesn't care if other people die, because it was their own fault. Which is weird because he goes on about like safety and risk and he's kind of like mocked for caring about safety and risk. And the weird thing also, uh, I think they have the actual voice of Niki Lauda speaking about his friend James Hunt, and like that he was riding a bicycle and he had one shoe, and it's like a really weird story to include in the movie, and it's just basically like the way it's edited makes James Hunt feel like this like free spirited character, whereas in fact at that moment in his life, he was an alcoholic, and Niki Lauda saw him and helped him get his life together because, in fact, they were friends. That's what friends do for other friends. So, yeah. And the weird thing about their rivalry is that they weren't really rivals. I mean, maybe for one season, but they weren't on the same level, is what I'm saying. So Niki Lauda won one championship, and then he says in the movie there's two famous things about him: this car crash and his relationship with James Hunt. And the character says that he doesn't understand why people considered they were rivals because they were friends, and that's true, you know. So the movie takes some weird direction with that. Yeah, so they weren't really rivals because Niki Lauda won one championship when, and then, James Hunt's character would say, oh, we weren't racing in equal cars. And then the second season after that, Niki Lauda had this horrible crash and nearly died, and he was gone for a majority of this, not a majority, but a fair chunk of this season, maybe like 25% of the season. And despite him being gone for 25% of the season, James Hunt won that year by only 1 point. So it wasn't like if uh, Niki Lauda hadn't had that crash, it would be an equal competition. No. And then after that, Niki Lauda went on to win two more championships. And how many did James Hunt win? Zero. And the movie kind of makes it feel, I mean, he won one, but after that, zero. The movie kind of makes it feel like he is some kind of, I don't know, like free spirited guy, when really very charismatic guy for sure, but not as talented as Niki Lauda. And his alcoholism didn't really help him. And it kind of feels like this movie was completely written from James Hunt's perspective. There's even a line where he goes, the Nicky Lauda is talking to his teammate, and Nicky Lauda asks some woman out on a date, and the teammate is like, "Are you sure you want to do that? Because she was dating this one guy who, was satisfying everybody in bed, like for hours and hours he would go." And then Nicky Lauda is like, "Who's the name of this driver?" And the other guy's like, "Oh, it's James Hunt." So I think it's like Hunt's perspective on this whole thing. Like, yeah, of course he's a great lover, you know. Oh, it's so ridiculous. Would I recommend it? I'm going to say no. I think if you're an F1 fan, you probably have already seen it. And if you're not, I don't think the story. Um, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see what the drivers go through, but it's really hard to create uh, a story where uh, what do I want to say? It's really hard to create a good sports movie, and F1 is no different. And I don't think that this is a great F1 sports movie. Yeah, so that is the podcast. Please check out my son's uh, podcast. It's called the Everything and More Etc. podcast. I'm on the first season, and we talk about animated series, and we go into great depth and detail about each episode, each series we're talking about, which this format does not allow me to do. Bye bye.